Being considered a family only when it's convenient, and as strangers when it's not. Being a daughter-in-law really means your role changes constantly. I guess I can understand if my mother-in-law and sister-in-law think that way. But the real issue is that even my husband started treating me, his wife, as a stranger. Well, if that's how it's going to be, I might as well become a complete stranger. My name is Emily, a 35-year-old stay-at-home mom, currently living with my same-aged husband, Brian, and his mother in their family home. We have 2 kids, both in elementary school, and they're close in age, so I'm just starting to get a bit of a break from the constant care. Raising these kids has been a real challenge. Of course, parenting is hard for everyone, but in our case, the biggest problem was my mother-in-law. Our generation can access a variety of information online and find support and advice through social media. Plus, medical science is constantly advancing, bringing new findings to light. However, my 65-year-old mother-in-law's head is filled with outdated parenting information. So, when I use disposable diapers, she makes a fuss saying, "How lazy. A real mother should use cloth diapers." If I breastfeed after a bath, she protests, "Why aren't you giving the baby cooled boiled water?" I've never heard of breastfeeding like that. And when I hold a crying child, she warns, "Don't spoil them with too much holding, and they'll become too clingy." Every time, I try to explain the latest information to her, but she won't listen to any of it. Worse still, she tries to do things now considered dangerous. For example, when my child was 6 months old, she tried to give them honey. It's well known now that honey can contain Clostridium botulinum and should not be given to infants under 1 year, but she didn't know that. When I saw her taking a spoonful of honey to the baby's mouth, I panicked and snatched it away. Even showing her credible articles from the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare didn't work. She just dismissed them saying, "I gave honey to Brian and his sister Sophia, and nothing happened." Such information must be false. Dismissing the ministry as liars, that's something else. The relationship with my mother-in-law was already a headache, but another problem arose after the kids were born. My husband's mama's boy behavior. Brian, being the eldest son, was always pampered by his mother, often prioritizing her over me. Once I had kids, Brian, who knew nothing about parenting, started siding with his mother on everything, insisting she was right. Even when I shared information from the internet, he'd challenge me, "Can you guarantee that information is 100% correct? Mom has raised me and Sophia, so she knows what's right. Shouldn't we listen to someone with experience?" I don't believe everything my mother-in-law says is wrong, but blindly following her, especially when she rejects any new knowledge, just isn't possible for me. As a result, my relationship with my husband became increasingly strained. Furthermore, this issue worsened my already rocky relationship with my mother-in-law. If the kids dirty their clothes and I run the washing machine twice a day, she yells, "You're wasting electricity. Use the washing machine every 2 days at most. Anything else, wash by hand." If I buy store-bought snacks or ready-made meals, she confiscates them saying, "Kids need homemade food. Buying ready-made stuff means you're lacking in love and they'll grow up wrong." When I'm busy with 2 close-in-age kids and buy a robotic vacuum cleaner, she criticizes, "Cleaning means getting into every nook and cranny. A robot cleaner only knows how to clean round spaces in square rooms." And then she takes it to use in her room downstairs. When I tried to take it back, she exclaimed, "You expect an elderly woman with a bad back to use a regular vacuum? How cold-hearted can a daughter-in-law be?" Hearing this, my husband scolded me, "You really are a cold woman. You're part of this family, right? Don't you have any desire to care for my mom as a family member?" I was utterly fed up. Then, the incident that finally made me snap occurred. My sister-in-law, Sophia, suddenly expressed her desire for a homecoming birth. Sophia lives just about a 20-minute drive from us, so it didn't really seem necessary, but she apparently insisted on coming back home. However, the room she used to occupy is now the kids' room, and apart from my mother-in-law's bedroom on the first floor, the rest of the house is filled with clutter. Moreover, I was shocked to hear she planned to stay for about 3 months before and after the birth. When I wanted to go back to my parents' house for childbirth, my mother-in-law scolded me saying, "What are you thinking? Returning to your parents' house so easily after getting married? Yet, for Sophia, a 6-month homecoming is okay? The blatant favoritism between her own daughter and a daughter-in-law is astounding. And what's more surprising, my mother-in-law announced, Sophia is coming the day after tomorrow. She must be anxious about her first childbirth, so I thought it best to have her come as soon as possible. Wait, which room will she use? There's no room ready for immediate use, I asked, to which my mother-in-law casually ordered me. Well, about that. Emily, please take your 2 children and go back to your parents' house. The room you're using for the kids was originally Sophia's. What? So, she's kicking me and the kids out to give the room to her? Wait a minute. That's too sudden. Besides, the kids' room is full of their stuff. Just stuff it all in their bunk beds, she replied. And she expects me to do all this in just 2 days? Moreover, if we're going back to my parents' house for half a year, I'll have to transfer the kids to another school. My parents' house is about a 4-hour drive away, making it impossible to continue sending them to their current elementary school. Just transfer them to another school. It doesn't matter which elementary school they go to at their age, she said. They have a lot of friends at their current school. Well, they can make new friends at another school. And after all, they'll be back in 6 months, so there's no problem, she dismissed. This is hopeless. Besides, I want to welcome my own child's birth at our home and spend time exclusively as a family, she added. Hearing this, I was infuriated. So, my children and I are not being treated as a family. I decided to hold off on responding and discuss this with Brian when he returned from work. I wasn't allowed to have a homecoming birth, yet she's letting her own daughter stay for half a year and kicking me and the kids out? That's just cruel. I vented, and Brian looked surprised. What's so bad about that? It's natural for a mother to want to take care of her own daughter, he said. My own mother suggested I could come back home for my pregnancy, but your mother immediately rejected it. She never considered my or my mother's feelings, yet you're completely siding with her? I don't know about your parents' feelings. You and your parents are outsiders, after all, he replied. Oh, really? Calling the woman you married and had children with an outsider. Fine. I'll make sure to leave before Sophia arrives, I said. Great, thanks. Oh, and clean up my room before you go, he added. As if I would. I glared at the back of my foolish husband as he entered his room. I might be seeing his face for the last time in just 2 days. I immediately called my parents and explained the situation. My mother eagerly began cleaning the room I used throughout my single life and even cleared the adjacent room for the kids. After my parents divorced due to my father's infidelity, my mother received this house as part of the settlement. She had been living alone since I got married and left home. So, she was overjoyed that my 2 children and I were coming back home. She even said, if it's hard for you, you can always leave your husband and come back here. Also, I quickly transferred my kids to a nearby elementary school, where they easily blended in. As some of my childhood friends' children were enrolled there. It looks like they could continue attending this school, not just for half a year but possibly longer. Furthermore, I started looking for a job near my parents' home, planning to raise my children alongside my pensioner mother. Luckily, having relatives and childhood friends nearby, they were all willing to take care of my kids. But shockingly, I didn't receive any contact from my husband, Brian. Even though my eldest son resembles Brian and was adored by my mother-in-law, she also didn't reach out. It became clear that not just I, but also my children were considered strangers. Well, that's fine. My mother-in-law and Brian can just take care of their family member, my sister-in-law Sophia. But if they think family only will be easy, they're mistaken. After all, Sophia is an extremely spoiled and brother-obsessed girl. She even cried and screamed, "No, no. I don't want my brother to get married," at our wedding reception. Imagining their current difficulties, I couldn't help but laugh. While having such thoughts, I was preparing for the divorce. 3 months after our separation, Brian suddenly contacted me. Hey. What are you doing? Come back quickly. His voice was almost like that of someone crying out in desperation. I've had enough of babysitting Sophia. Just as I thought. He explained that since Sophia arrived at the in-laws 3 months ago, she's been incredibly demanding. Complaining of back pain and feeling heavy, she barely moved, behaving like a queen bee. Brian and his mother were completely treated like errand runners, being woken up in the middle of the night with demands like, "My feet are swollen, massage them." Furthermore, after returning to her in-laws' house, she did nothing but eat and sleep, resulting in nearly a 22-pound weight gain. She was diagnosed with gestational diabetes and scolded by the doctor, leading her to take out her frustration on Brian and his mother. Just a few days ago, she gave birth but then said, "Ew. I don't want this monkey-like baby," and completely left the childcare to her mother. Yet, she still criticized everything her mother did. I wasn't surprised. I burst into laughter. "When are you coming back?" he demanded. "Your mother told me not to come back for 6 months, so it'll be a while," I replied. "That's not funny. Come back now." "No way, it's your mother's order. If you have a problem, talk to her." At that point, his mother came on the line. "You're part of the family, right? Please take care of Sophia." "Really? Even though you kicked me and the kids out to have family-only time?" I replied sarcastically, ignoring her excuses. "Besides, it's been 10 years since I had my children, so I'm sure my knowledge is outdated compared to what Sophia knows. I'm too scared to help," I declared. Then, I had Brian back on the phone. "The kids prefer their new school, so we're not coming back. I'll proceed with the divorce, thanks." And I hung up. Brian, not expecting me to initiate a divorce, begged, "I went too far. I'm sorry, please come back." But after several discussions through a lawyer, we finally divorced 6 months later. I made sure to get alimony, a fair share of our assets, and child support. The unexpected bonus was spousal support. In cases of separation, the higher-earning spouse has to pay living expenses to the other. Since Brian and I had been separated for nearly a year before the divorce, and upon my lawyer's advice, I claimed and received about $10,000 for the months leading up to the divorce. As for the in-laws, Sophia ended up staying at their house, and now there are talks of her getting divorced. Her husband's family wants her to return to the in-laws, and Brian and his mother are having a big battle about it. Moreover, the child doesn't resemble her husband at all, so it's only a matter of time before Sophia is rejected by both families. Such a pity. What? This pathetic meal for Thanksgiving? How poor are we supposed to be? My eldest son's wife, back home for the holidays, complained about the meal I prepared, sounding like a teenager in full rebellion mode. I thought she depended on me like a real parent. To be treated this badly. I'm at my wit's end. My name is Susan. I'm 62 years old. My only son, Michael, is independent now, and I live peacefully with my husband, David. Lately, I've been going to the community center to learn dressmaking as a hobby. I look forward to lunches and cafe visits with the friends I've made there, and today I'm heading there again. I'm going fishing with some friends. If we finish around the same time, I'll come by to pick you up, so give me a call," David says to me as I get ready to leave. "I can get home by myself. You just enjoy your fishing. It would be terrible if something happened. I'll come pick you up, so make sure to call." David can be a bit overprotective, but he's really good to me. He always insists on driving me, even for trips I can handle alone. No matter what happens, I know David will always be there for me with his unwavering love. Feeling reassured, I continued enjoying my peaceful days, immersed in my hobby. Then one day, I received a message from Michael. "I'm getting married to my girlfriend. Can I introduce her to you this Saturday?" Michael, 30 years old, works in sales at a major telecom company. He's been too busy with work to come home except for Christmas, and we've hardly been in touch. Surprised by his sudden announcement, I hastily consulted with David. Wow. He's finally getting married. I was starting to worry that he didn't have a girlfriend at 30. We'd definitely like to meet her. David was purely happy about our son's marriage, but I was a bit worried. Michael, like his father, has a friendly and calm demeanor. But his excessive tolerance can be a flaw. Even as a young boy, he wouldn't fuss if a friend didn't return his last pencil. Because of that, we were always running out of pencils and erasers. He's too easygoing. I just hope he can communicate his needs clearly to her. With these concerns in mind, I prepared for the day of the meeting. The girlfriend Michael brought home was very tall, almost like a model, and was strikingly beautiful and elegant. This is Emily. She gave a smile as Michael introduced her. Her poise was so actress-like, I couldn't help but be mesmerized. I'm Susan, Michael's mother. Please, come in. I greeted her, but for some reason, she didn't react. Emily, you're so tall and beautiful. How did you two meet? At a mixer a colleague set up. She's a waitress at a restaurant. I've dropped by a few times while she was working. And she always looks so beautiful and cute when she's trying her hardest. You're really smitten with her, aren't you? Reminds me of when I was head over heels for your mom. The initial meeting turned lively with just the three of us. She seemed either nervous or cautious, not joining in our conversation. I tried to engage her. What do you like about my son? Just everything, she replied briefly. Which would you like? Coffee or tea? I'd prefer juice, she answered. Her way of speaking was almost childlike. After she left, I asked Michael, is she always like that? Not very talkative, or shy, or standoffish. Yeah, she's always like that. I don't mean to speak ill, but her not greeting and not using polite language kind of bothered me. Michael responded, actually, Emily was born when her parents were still in high school. They married right after graduation. But they fought constantly and ended up divorcing. I want to support her, having grown up in such difficult circumstances, he said passionately. So, there's a backstory. Well, you'll have to make her happy now. Give it your all. I decided to warmly support the start of Michael and Emily's life together. However, once they were married, for some reason, Emily began calling my cell phone frequently. I'm out shopping, but I'm feeling a bit faint. Can you come pick me up? Are you okay? Where are you? I'm at the supermarket near the station. I'm sitting on a bench. I'll be waiting for you. She started asking for various things in a way that was even worse than how a real daughter would speak to her mother. At first, I was happy to be relied upon like a real mother, but it became annoying when she would call for trivial matters. The drinks I bought at the supermarket are too heavy. Can you help me carry them? I accidentally booked the wrong beauty salon. Can you drive me to the next town? I can't ride my bike home in this heavy rain. Please come get me. These calls came incessantly. When I was at the community center, I asked David to help, but sometimes he couldn't, as he occasionally works as a security guard. Sorry. Can you use a taxi today? If you pay for the taxi, then I'll do that. I was definitely being treated like a handyman. Due to her poor upbringing, it seemed like Emily's personality was quite warped. Why did Michael marry such a woman? How long will this situation continue? With these doubts and concerns, there was an opportunity when Michael came back home alone. I asked him directly. Why is Emily so selfish? She's certainly beautiful, but isn't it difficult living with her with that attitude? In response to my question, Michael hung his head slightly and began, actually. As he started to explain how they ended up getting married. He fell head over heels for her beauty and asked her out, but it wasn't straightforward. She demanded that he do everything she says as a condition for their relationship, and he accepted all of it. So, that's why she's so spoiled. I regretted raising my son to be too timid and tolerant. After a while of no contact, my son called me saying, "We're coming back for Thanksgiving," so I prepared dinner to welcome them. But upon seeing the meal I prepared, Emily said, "What? Fried chicken and a pumpkin pie? It's not a kid's picnic. Serve something like roast turkey. How poor can you get with such a lousy meal?" She berated me with the manner of a rude delinquent. I'm sorry. I should have told Mom your favorite dishes. Michael apologized profusely. Being manipulated and walked all over by her, there's a limit to being nice. Taking Michael's subservient attitude for granted, she went on, "Oh, I don't like mashed potatoes. I prefer roast turkey with French fries or mac and cheese. Hurry up and order some." Just as I was about to raise my voice, David stood up, trembling with anger, and said, "This is the last time we'll see each other. Think of this as your last supper. Eat whatever you want, even roast turkey with French fries." I had never seen my usually gentle husband explode in anger like this. Michael and Emily were stunned by his roar. "What do you mean by a last?" "Just what I said. Susan thought about this menu for a long time, prepared your favorite fried chicken and pumpkin pie. And even made lasagna and cake. And yet, you insult the meal and call us poor. We're done with you too." David had reached his breaking point. He seemed determined to cut ties with them. "What? If there's lasagna and cake, bring it out first. It's your fault for hiding it. Don't get mad at me." Fearlessly, Emily snapped back at him. If David had reached his limit, I was ready to confront this nightmare of a daughter-in-law without holding back. "Sorry, we didn't have your favorites ready. Anything else you'd like?" "Like I said before. Roast turkey. The ones with French fries or mac and cheese. And also ahijo and aqua pazza." Unfazed by David's anger, she continued to place her orders. "We're out of olive oil for the ahijo. But we do have sea bream and clams, and all the ingredients for aqua pazza. So, I'll leave the rest to you." I quickly took out the ingredients from the fridge and handed her the pot. "Wait, you want me to do it?" She stood there, holding the pot, frozen. "Since my cooking doesn't seem to suit your taste, I'd like to see your skills as a homemaker." I decided to hand over the entire cooking task to her. "That's a great idea. Since you called Susan's cooking lousy and called us poor, your cooking must be incredibly delicious." David provided backup support. "No. I'm a guest, right?" I faced Emily, who was trying to dodge the responsibility, and firmly said, "No excuses, just do it." She trembled and placed the pot on the stove with a terrified look. "Don't let it burn dry. The pot will get scorched. First, you need to purge the sand of the clams and remove the stems from the cherry tomatoes." She resignedly started tapping the clams with a fork, seemingly accepting my strict stance. Purging out the sand doesn't mean hitting them with a fork. Aren't you supposed to soak them in salt water? Michael watched Emily's cooking with a stunned expression. "I don't know that. Making a guest do all this, you really are a terrible mother-in-law." Cornered and lashing out, she threw the fork, and then a hearty laugh came from behind. "After all your criticism about the meal, you can't even prepare clams properly? And not a single thank you, you completely lack basic human manners." The source of the voice was my big sister, Rachel, who had come over for the holiday. I had been a cooking instructor at the cultural center until a few years ago, and Rachel was still a manners instructor. "I was in the next room until a moment ago, but your attitude and character are really awful." I have a lot to say, but first. What about that outfit? Are you here to play? This outfit? It's trendy French leggings. You think that's fashionable? Dressing appropriately for the occasion is basic. I can't believe you came to your husband's family home dressed like pajamas. Rachel, without any hesitation, scolded her for her complete lack of common sense. "Such a mess in attitude, speech, and dress, you folks have been very patient with this daughter-in-law. I can't be bothered to worry about such a failure. I've just resigned myself to it." Encouraged by Rachel, I threw in some harsh words I usually wouldn't use. Then, Michael and Emily started a fierce argument. "The reason that this happened is because you criticized Mom's cooking." What? If you have a problem, say it to these terrible women. The problem is your attitude. Show some manners, will you? They went back and forth, arguing. David put an end to it. "If you want to fight, do it elsewhere. If you have something to say, think it over and come back another day. I'll listen only once." He glared at them with a fierceness I had never seen before. Overwhelmed by his intensity, they hastily left. A few days later, they came to our house, looking solemn and begging for forgiveness. Please, no disowning or cutting ties. The issue isn't just her behavior, but you allowing it. I'm utterly dismayed seeing you so smitten and extending your nose at such a nonsensical wife. David glared at my son, still furious from the other day. I've decided. If it means being disowned by you guys, I'll divorce her. My son's shocking declaration was unexpected. Emily looked astonished. What? You said you'd protect me. I thought so, too. But I'm convinced now that what Mom and Aunt Rachel said was right. Your lack of common sense, your dress, your speech. Your character, it's all too much. What? You're making me out to be the bad guy? I'm not important to you. I'm just tired of all this with you. Michael continued in a faint voice. Calling me over and over on my cell phone saying, I'm tired from shopping, come pick me up, I don't have enough money, bring me some. When I turned off my phone, you even called me at work. And when I said I couldn't, you'd get angry, saying, don't you care about me? Didn't you say you'd do anything I ask? Then, accusing him of cheating, she finally pushed him beyond his limits. Don't just give out my phone number to her without considering how we've been put up with her whims. That's right. It's really a nuisance. Handle your own wife by yourself. David coldly declared, and we ultimately decided to cut ties with Michael and Emily. After we severed ties with them, Rachel frequently visited their house. Rachel said she was just having tea at their place, but she was actually giving Emily some strict lessons in manners, her area of expertise. Then, Emily came to my house to apologize, looking like a different person, worn out. I'm sorry. I said terrible things before. She presented an envelope containing the taxi fares I had paid and some cash as a sign of apology. No matter how much you apologize, I will not forgive you. I coldly rejected her, and she slumped dejectedly. Michael and Emily were continuing to live separately at home, and it seemed that divorce proceedings would start soon. However, Emily had lost contact with her biological mother and had nowhere to live and no money as she was pushed into a corner. By the time she realized how much trouble her actions had caused others, it was too late. The stormy days with Michael and Emily passed, and David and I returned to our peaceful life, enjoying our hobbies. I had hoped that Michael would find a new wife soon, and surprisingly, he actively started looking for a partner, quickly finding a suitable match. His new partner was a woman versed in arts like painting, flower arrangement, and sewing, possessing a refined demeanor. She really liked Michael's slightly shy, tolerant, and kind nature. Though I had once regretted his personality, I now feel our parenting was right. I'm off to my cultural class. Alright, I'm off to go fishing. It seems like David is going to pick me up by car, on our way back from our respective hobbies. It seems that Michael indeed inherited his father's kind nature.